A very warm welcome back to the channel. Some developments surrounding the future of Air Force One. Qatar Airways are back in for new aircraft orders, and Air Japan are growing their 787 fleet. Why not begin there with the Japanese carrier expected to add a further 787 in 2026. Since launching as part of the ANA group, Air Japan has developed actually relatively slowly in comparison to maybe some other endeavors we've seen across the industry. It still only has 2 Dreamliners to its name, and they're all for the smallest variant in the family, the 787-8. The delivery of a third 787-8 has been speculated for some time, however it now seems to be all but confirmed, with the jet joining in 2026 to help launch new routes and add all-important capacity across Asia. Air Japan previously unveiled guidance that it would look to start growing its operation once more in FY 2025. Now this extends into the next calendar year. ANA, remember, launching this brand and the aircraft this low-cost unit flies all because of their mainline division. This means that the growth of the new business depends also on how that mainline operator is actually tracking with its own renewal deliveries and more. Unfortunately, there have been many recent complications in the acquisition of 787 jets, which have delayed the delivery to airlines such as ANA, and this has meant that aircraft swaps have maybe not been able to take place as initially intended. But who are Air Japan? Well, like I said, they're relatively new to the industry, launching in 2024 to offer international routes covering Asia. This is intended to be a low-cost carrier and a company that is more attainable for customers. Fundamentally, Air Japan is also just one of the 3 core brands across the ANA group. The mainline division is really refocusing its priorities, aiming to elevate the business further in future decades, and it believes that Air Japan is a pivotal piece to this. They shipped some of their 787s off to aid Air Japan initiatives. The method has been used with other airlines many times before, and in this instance, the aircraft were basically repainted and reconfigured to feature the newest product, which gave the jets a clean and fresh slate. Upon launch, the airline did not expand quickly. Instead, it focused on offering 3 modest routes in its first year of operation to learn the basics, because while, yes, this is definitely part of the ANA group, it is still a new endeavor, and the slowed growth of its operation is seen as something more feasible moving forward rather than expanding too quickly. Moreover, the launch of Air Japan is very important to the Japanese industry. We're seeing greater competition than ever, even in this country, let alone all around Asia, and ANA believes it needs a genuine low-cost competitor with aircraft like the 787 serving markets, and internally, its dilemma surrounded whether it could do something like this with its own mainline division, but the fear was its overall quality may drop if it tried to adopt a low-cost initiative. It would have been better to just break away with a new project, such as what Air Japan is. Over to Qatar Airways, and a week and a bit after confirming an order for 210 Boeing planes, they could be back in for more, this time turning their attention to Airbus. Fresh comments from the airline's chief executive officer and Bloomberg TV confirmed that there is another chance for a big order from Airbus, which will depend on how the market evolves. Airbus is already a massive provider of aircraft to Qatar Airways. However, the latest deal for those 210 planes, which included only Boeing jets from the 777X and 787 series, meant the European plane maker missed out on securing new commitments. As a result, the odds of Qatar Airways growing its commitment to Airbus for wide-body aircraft seem unlikely, especially considering its purchase of Boeing wide-body jets. While it may appear that Airbus doesn't have a real need of securing the purchase of jets from Qatar Airways, the Doha-based carrier does not maybe feel this way. Instead, it is pointing towards the renewal of its single-aisle fleet. With aircraft rising such as the A321neo program, and definitely through derivatives like the A321XLR, this family has quickly become a favourable choice for airlines seeking to evolve their single-aisle operation. But what about that all-important Boeing order? Well, it included 210 new Boeing planes, representing the largest order ever and a record for Boeing from a wide-body standpoint. Qatar confirmed 130 Dreamliners and 30 777Xs were to be ordered, the remaining units to be considered as options. So the future for the Doha-based carrier is exciting to say the least. Over to the final story, and that sits with the United States officially accepting what is widely described as the next Air Force One from Qatar. The Pentagon confirmed the acceptance of the new private Boeing 747, but reiterated its requirement that this plane be rapidly upgraded to include all the latest safety features to make it fit for carrying a president and other associated and also equally important parties. While safety and security measures are integral to the installation process on this plane, Emphasis also has to be placed on the jet's capabilities of conducting functional mission requirements long into the future. The Pentagon also confirmed that it accepts the aircraft from Qatar following all the relevant federal rules and regulations being ticked off, a vital part to be considered, as some certainly expressed their concerns with all of this. Talk of Qatar offering its own private 747 flying with the royal family came about when you really consider the many struggles the United States has experienced in figuring out the right steps to move forward with its next Air Force One plane. However, given the jet is now being accepted, it doesn't mean it'll be ready to fly as Air Force One in a week, with a lot of costs required to improve the plane's facilities to put it at the highest working order. Even with all the required upgrades in place, the costs would be still much less than what the initial deal with Boeing was, which has only looked to increase in costs over time. The delivery of a new Air Force One plane, you may know, has been a persistent talking point over the last few years, and this has affected the US government and even Boeing, which has its fair share of problems away from just this own jet program to handle. Chronic delays have continued to plague the program, resulting in substantial cost overruns and putting Boeing, who are running the program, at really massive amounts of losses that are not sustainable when you know so many other parts of its business have struggled. For example, in June 2024, it was confirmed that Boeing's newest Air Force One would see its first flight delayed until March 2026. In the last quarter of 2023, however, there were also further delays, so every timeline has just continuously been lost. Very keen to hear your take down below in the comment. Thanks a lot for your support here on the channel. Please take care, do be safe, and I'll see you tomorrow for your next industry recap.
And we'll fly.